Yeah, so tell me what's kind of the worst thing that you feel like could happen or maybe has happened that you feel like you don't want to repeat again? You know, has something happened in terms of, you know, you're speaking and someone says something or does something, or is it just I don't want that to happen, so I'm afraid of it?
Well, I speak, I'm from Haiti. I have the French accent,
Mhm.
but English is my second language.
Okay.
So I always have that fear in the back of my mind. If I speak, I'll be ridiculed. I speak with an accent, and it's dwelling me, even as we speak.
Okay.
That's what I need to be able to start working on it to speak with more confidence.
Okay, so here's one little mind trick. And this is something that I'm just diving into. So for myself, because there are fears and things like that that I have that I know are being created in my own head. So I'm kind of going through this process myself. And but one thing that I have kind of realized is that we have complete control over how we think others think about us.
Okay.
Make sense? Okay, so we can go into a situation and we can say, everyone's noticing my accent, everyone is judging me for it, and they're going to think less of me, and so you know, and those are the thoughts going in your head. What feelings does that bring up then? If I
Oh,
have those thoughts going in,
it's not a good feeling at all.
no, there's a
Because
lot of fear, right? You had already
yes,
mentioned.
even now, before I even started
Mm-hmm,
speaking, I
mm-hmm.
start getting butterflies in
Yeah,
my stomach.
absolutely.
Not even in front of a live audience.
Yeah,
I have that fear,
right.
and it's
Because
not
of those,
really easy.
because of those thoughts, right, Brunel? So
Yeah,
those,
absolutely,
yeah, so
absolutely.
those thoughts creep in. Okay, so so the thoughts, we've kind of talked about the thoughts. The feelings that result in that is fear and insecurity and lack of confidence. What then becomes the result?
Well, the result is not really, it can be very detrimental because
Mm-hmm,
if that fear persists,
mm-hmm.
and that's an issue.
Okay,
But if I can overcome that fear,
yeah.
I would be able to express myself more with confidence and more freely, just like everybody else.
So what's so nice about this situation and empowering about this situation is you have 100% control over that by the thoughts that you choose to think. So a lot of times we think the circumstance dictates our thoughts about it. But really, could we walk into a room or come into a study group like this and say, everyone loves me. Everyone thinks I'm wonderful, and that I'm going to be accepted, and everyone's in the same situation as me. Everyone has their own insecurities. There's a whole list of thoughts that we could have. So
Okay.
if you went into a situation and said, oh, these people are all just like me. They all have insecurities. They all have things that they're a little bit scared of. And I am just the same as them. But they all love me, and they are going to accept me and think I'm wonderful. What is the feeling that then results from those thoughts?
Oh, that would be great. I think if that's exactly a good suggestion for me to convince myself that I'm like everybody else. Like I'm human. I'm a human being. You
So you
know.
talk about, I need to convince myself, because then the result of that is you show up your best self, that you're not scared, and maybe you will be still scared. I think I still get a little nervous every time I start up a study group for whatever reason. you know,
Okay.
there's still a little bit of that, there's some thoughts floating in there, even though every time I've shown up and had a great experience.
I see.
So,
And that's why to mention to you, I'm sorry to cut
yeah,
you.
go ahead.
I always have that fear if I have to be chosen to say a few words or a toast, forget
Mm-hmm,
about public speaking. That
mm-hmm,
is, in other words, it's just like this is the end of the world for me. The moment that I would have to stand up in front of a live audience, that is the, wow, such a horrible experience.
Right. But we think that we have no control over that.
Right.
And the truth is we have 100% control over that. And it all has to do with how we're managing our mind and our thoughts about the situation.
True.
So being aware and just even stopping and being aware of what thoughts am I, I'm feeling nervous. What thoughts are creating that feeling for me?
Right.
And being able to take a look at those and not judge them and say, oh, I'm such, I hate that I have those thoughts and I shouldn't be having those thoughts. And I think, I'm a terrible person for having those thoughts. No judgment.
Right.
But just saying, oh, what are the thoughts that are creating that? Oh yeah, those are thoughts that I'm having, but they're not getting to me to where I want to be. What thoughts do I want to have? And how can I practice those thoughts? So have you heard of like affirmations?
Yes.
Affirmations. So that's basically what affirmations are, just choosing our thoughts. It's saying, what do I want to think? How do I want to believe? What do I want to believe and what do I want to feel? And what do I choose to think? Writing those down, reviewing them every day until you really believe them. And the more that because the brain, it's so interesting because the brain just has developed these pathways. So your brain has developed a pathway of going into a situation and thinking certain negative thoughts about judgment and fear and things like that, that you've just practiced and you've developed over time.
It becomes a habit.
It's formed a habit. Yeah. Your brain just says, oh, I know what to do in this situation. I'm going to go ahead and, release these thoughts that I've practiced over the years. So what you have to do is practice new thoughts.
Okay. What do you suggest? What do you recommend?
Yeah. So writing down a list of things like everyone has their own insecurities.
Okay.
I am not the only one with
insecurities.
With insecurities. Everyone has insecurities. Everyone, and you can choose, everyone is going to like me. It doesn't have to, some people will or won't, but if you go in saying they're not going to like you, you're going to show up in that way. But if you go in saying everyone likes me and, I'm going to, and I'm going, then you're going to show up as your best self, right?
Yes.
Even if they don't like you, you'll probably win them over because you are showing up in a way that gives them the benefit of the doubt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So saying, people like me, no one's there to judge me. No one's there to judge me. I have a lot of valuable information to share. I am valuable. I have a lot of good ideas. Whatever, you kind of have to look inside your mind and say, what is it that is the negative thought and how can I change it to a more positive thing that's going to help me show up in a better way.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want you to actually physically write it down because that helps that pathway in our brain.
I am actually, as you're speaking, I'm jotting down the notes.
Writing those down and then reviewing them every day. And even if you need multiple times a day, or especially before you go into a situation where those thoughts are creeping in, be able to train those thoughts and say, nope, I choose to think these other thoughts. And I choose to show up in this other way, because you do have 100% control over it. And a lot of times we think we don't. We just are at the mercy of our feelings and thoughts.
Yes.
But we really are not. We can choose.
Okay.
So I really think, because when I listen to you, Brunel, I'm thinking, you're doing all of the great things. You're doing wonderful things with your speech and your accent and everything like that. Obviously, there's things that, we could keep, we can keep working and training, but I don't think your confidence is going to come from that.
I see.
I think your confidence will come from the way you perceive yourself.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, is there any, besides your feedback and your recommendations, is there any positive thinking books that you can recommend, you can suggest?
Yeah. So it's something that I've kind of gotten into. There's a podcast called The Life Coach School by Brooke Castillo. I think that's how you spell it. But she talks a lot about managing our mind and our thoughts, and this whole concept of that we create our own reality with our thoughts,
Yes.
and how to shift our results based on the thoughts that we have.
Right.
And so she has a number of podcasts that go into different topics. So go look at that podcast. It's been really helpful for me, and I think that could be really helpful for you.
Oh, this is a podcast.
Yeah, it's a podcast. Yeah.
Oh,
She's
great.
coming out with a book here soon, but I think the podcast is extremely helpful.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for your feedback.
You're very
I feel
welcome.
much better.
Good.